Well, hello everyone, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report, coming at you again this week with the Alabama Football Podcast. It's great to be back with you again this week. Lance and I really appreciate you tuning in each and every week listening to this podcast on Alabama football. And I really thank Lance Shores for all that he does in the production of this, for the videos and the pictures, getting this ready for everyone to listen to. So we look forward to it each and every week. We're coming down to the end of the season, and we have another great show for you lined up for the day. In the first segment, we're going to take a look at the LSU game and review the LSU game that just happened this past Saturday night in Baton Rouge. In our second segment, we're going to look at our standout players of the game against LSU. And in our third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Arkansas Razorbacks. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report. I'm glad to be back with you this week on our podcast on Alabama football. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Well, this past Saturday, the Alabama Crimson Tide went into Baton Rouge, Louisiana for what I termed a redemption game against the LSU Tigers. You know, last year, LSU came into Bryant-Denny Stadium and derailed Alabama's championship hopes and went on to a great victory, and they went on to win the national championship. Well, this LSU team that we played this past Saturday night in Baton Rouge, I called it a redemption game for Alabama because Alabama got to go in there and show that they were the better team, and they got to go in there and show them that they were a more consistent team, and that's exactly what happened. Everything we discussed on last week's podcast about a preview of the LSU game really worked out perfectly in this game. Alabama went into Baton Rouge, night game on national attention. The offensive players who had an opportunity to create value for themselves for life in the NFL and for these postseason awards did just that. And we'll talk about them in our second segment. And then the defense really stepped up and did a really good job. My prediction last week was 52-17, and Alabama came away with a 55-17 victory over LSU. Very pleased with the whole overall game as it took place. Early on, it just looked like, and throughout the entire game, it was clearly that Alabama was the better team. LSU has kind of fallen off with a lot of people going to the NFL early. A lot of graduating seniors that went to the NFL from the team that won last year. They've had some opt-outs. Even this last week they had an opt-out. Been some dissension among the teams with the coaching staff and different things, but it clearly looked like Alabama was the better team. On offense, we went out and played the game just like we should. We ran the ball. We had some good plays where our blocking was good against that tough LSU front. We threw the ball well. Everyone talked about the matchup, and we even talked about last week, the matchup between Devonta Smith and Stingley Jr., who was supposed to be the best corner in football. That didn't materialize because there was no matchup. Devonta Smith did an excellent job against Darryl Stingley Jr. Really took him to task on several plays. They moved Devonta around. He got on some other players, and they couldn't handle him either. He was a mismatch for the safeties. He just had a stellar game, stellar performance. Najee Harris's running attack was really good in this game. He had another multiple touchdown game. Mac Jones, just superb the way he threw the ball. For his first 11 passes, I think he didn't have an incompletion. He had no interceptions for the game. We played mistake-free football on offense. We had very little penalties. I don't think we did anything on offense that could have gotten us beat, and that's what we talked about last week. Go in there and play mistake-free football. Take what the defense gives us, and that's exactly what we did. We took advantage of them running the ball. We took advantage of them passing the ball. So on offense, we really did good. I think we could have scored 80 points on them if we'd have wanted to. I believe that in the whole fourth quarter, we played our backup quarterback. He didn't get to attempt but one pass. That means we ran the ball the whole fourth quarter, trying to run out the clock. Our running backs came in, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams came in and really closed it out with some good running, fresh legs. and we didn't pass the ball. We could have, I think, continued to keep our starters in there and put up many points as we really wanted to. That's how good our offensive was playing in this game. On defense, we gave up 17 points, but in my estimation, that was where I thought we would be in this game. There were one long run for a touchdown that they blocked real well. We had some players that got beat on the play. There was a touchdown pass that we got beat on. But other than that, our defense played really, really good. We had multiple sacks in this game. We had just a few penalties in the game. And we were able to really impose our will on the defensive side of the ball. So overall, I think one of our better performances against LSU. I think we went in there into Baton Rouge and really showed that Alabama is the better team this year, and probably consistently overall for the recruits' perspective. It's the better team that you want to be in the process, where you can continually compete for a national championship. Yeah, LSU sold out last year and competed for a national championship, but this year, they're not on a consistent basis, just not able to show that. So I think on a national stage, it was a great game overall for the team, for individuals, and for recruiting. So Alabama comes away against the LSU Tigers with a victory 55-17 in Baton Rouge. Well, in the second segment, we're going to look at today on the BC Capstone Report podcast, going to talk about the standout players of the game against LSU. Well, let's start on the offense. And I'm going to say that what some people have coined the phrase, the big three for Alabama on offense. And that big three, since Jalen Waddle has went down with the injury, that is rested on Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Devonta Smith. So you don't have to look further than those three to see who my standout players of this game are. Mac Jones. Let's talk about Mac Jones. As I said earlier, he went 11 passes without throwing an incompletion. Did a great job. But overall, he was 20 of 28 for 385 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that's only playing through 3 quarters of the game. 3 quarters of the game, he threw for 385 yards and 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I just think he did a great job of putting the ball where it needed to be. The couple of passes where he put the ball where only Alabama players could catch the ball in the tight windows. To his credit, he had a couple of drop passes. I think John Mechie dropped a couple of passes that could have been caught. I think he overthrew maybe 2 receivers. One time he overthrew Jaleel Billingsley, and one time he overthrew Miller Forstall, which probably would have been another touchdown pass. So, but overall, perfect throwing the ball, especially on the deep balls, putting the ball in small spaces. And that touchdown pass that he threw to Devonta Smith, who was covered very well on that play by Stingley. Devonta went up and he put it where only Devonta could get it. He went up and made an athletic play. So Mac Jones did a great job passing the ball. But he did a great job in getting us up to the line of scrimmage, recognizing the defense that LSU was in, and making the right calls and adjustments on the fly, especially on the run-pass options that he had opportunity to throw and to play. So overall, Mac Jones, I think he is my Heisman candidate this year. I think it'll come down to him and Kyle Trask in the SEC championship game, and which one has the better game in that game will be the one that wins the Heisman Trophy, in my opinion, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So Mac Jones is one of my offensive standout players of the game. The other offensive standout player of the game is Najee Harris. Najee Harris, came back this year to play his senior year, wanted to prove some things, and I think he's done just that. He's proved he's one of the better backs in college football. Definitely has created value for himself in the NFL draft, I think. And he is in the talk of the Doak Walker Award and possibly the Heisman Trophy. But he had 21 carries for 145 yards. That's almost a 7-yard average. That's 6.9 yard average there. And he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So Najee Harris ran the ball well. He ran it with passion. He ran it with purpose, strength. He was able to use his stiff arm, forearms. He was able to use the spin move in this game. Just an overall a perfect game rushing the ball. So Najee Harris is my second standout player of the game on offense. And finally, my third and probably the most offensive production ever this year out of any wide receiver is Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith did a great job in this game offensively. in the first half, first quarter, just imposing his will on the defense and doing what he wanted to do. Didn't look like he could be covered. He had a total of 8 receptions for 231 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he had probably the best catch of the year that I've seen so far this year. He had that catch in the end zone where he elevated above, high pointed the ball, caught it with one hand, brought it back, secured it, and came right back down, which I thought was an amazing catch. Of course, he had that deep ball where he just left the defender behind and went on into the touchdown and outrun everyone to the end zone. To me, we always talked about Henry Ruggs and all of his speed, and of course he is fast as they can be, probably the fastest man ever to play at Alabama. And then you look at Jalen Waddle, and he is fast. But I think when you talk about Devonta Smith, he has what I call sneaky speed. He is pretty fast himself. I think he's within a hair of a fraction of a second of being fast as Ruggs and Waddle. So Devonta Smith really, when you see him, he's wiry, he's thin, and it doesn't look like he's going as fast, but I think he's going as fast and sometimes as any of those other wide receivers they've had at Alabama. And I made this comment on Twitter, and I believe it's true. I've said it before on my podcast. I've said it on the Martin Houston show. The truth is this. I believe that Devonta Smith is the best wide receiver ever to come out of the Alabama football program. And I know that's a big statement when you got people like Don Hudson and Ozzie Newsome in the older years, and then you got people like Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. You got all those people that are doing so well, and they're great players. But in my opinion, Devonta Smith will go down as the best college wide receiver ever to come out of Alabama. So those are my 3 outstanding players of the game on offense, and that's Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Devonta Smith. And on defense, I thought we played really well. I thought we did a good job, and that started, I think, with our young defensive backs. And I think Josh Jobe had a really, really good game. In this game, he had 5 tackles and 1 assist, and he also had a sack in this game where he had a corner blitz. We don't usually do a corner blitz unless we've gained some confidence in our safeties. And I think in this game we showed our confidence in our defense to be able to do some blitz packages that really hurt the young quarterbacks for LSU. So Josh Jobe did a great job of shutting down the corner, and he also did a great job on that blitz to get that sack. So Josh Jobe was one of my defensive players of the game. My other defensive player of the game is Malachi Moore. He's made a standout player of the game for me several times this year, but just that freshman keeps continually impressing me with his play. He doesn't play like a freshman anymore. And I know when you got 8 or 9 games under your belt, you're no longer considered a freshman in my mind, but he really plays well. He played with consistency and played with passion, played with a lot of strength and purpose in this game. He had 5 tackles and 1 assist and really came close to, he broke up a couple of passes and came close to an interception in this game too. So Malachi Moore is my other standout player of the game on defense. And my third and final standout player of the game on defense is Will Anderson Jr. I've been talking about him since the preseason of what I've heard about how good he is. And this game, I think, shows you some of the really athleticism that he is able to use. I think he's gaining confidence. I think he knows his position better. And I think it's showing on the field. In this game, he had 4 tackles, he had 4 assists, and 2 quarterback sacks in this game. So Will Anderson Jr., being a freshman, really came in and has really solidified that outside linebacker spot. So watch for him to continue to get better. I just think down the road, we haven't seen his best game yet on defense. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a breakout game either in the SEC championship game or the national championship game, much like Terrell Lewis did one year. So Will Anderson Jr. is my third standout player of the game on defense. So my standout player of the games on defense are Josh Jobe, Malachi Moore, and Will Anderson Jr. The standout players of the games on offense in this game against LSU is Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Devonta Smith. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. In our third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against Arkansas. Well, if there's ever a game that Alabama has an opportunity to have a letdown game against, this would be it. We've just beaten the Auburn Tigers at home in a rivalry game. We've gone on the road in a redemption game against LSU. We beat them, and we've clinched a place in the SEC championship game. But sandwiched between that this year, because of this virus world that we're living in, is a game against Arkansas. It's an 11 o'clock game in Arkansas. And this has every makings of a letdown game. So the question is, does Alabama come out in this game against Arkansas and lay an egg and have a tough game, or do they come out here and continue to do what they've done in this season, that is, impose their will offensively on the competition? Well, I've talked about some of the things that make this a good letdown game. Alabama's coming off big victories against Auburn and LSU. Alabama's already clinched the position in the SEC championship game against Florida, so it's easy to look ahead. But this team, I think, is on a mission. It's 11 o'clock game, so it's on the road at Arkansas, so it's easy to not bring your best game. But all that being said, I think Alabama comes out, and we've had some history where we've played some tough games against Arkansas, and Arkansas always gives us a tough game. But I think this is a special year. I think Alabama is solidifying at the right time. If ever there's a team built to handle this type of pressure of a potential letdown game, it's this game. It's this team. This season, against the COVID mess and everything that's going on, has caused us to have to really do things differently. And I think Coach Saban is going to have this team ready to play, realizing that their ultimate goal is to win the national championship. And if they want to do that, they have to win every game on their schedule. So I really believe that he'll have them ready to play in this game. So what does Arkansas bring to the table? Arkansas has nothing to lose in this game. They're going to come out and they're going to try to win. They just come off a game that was very emotional letdown against Missouri, where they had the game won in the final seconds to let Missouri drive down and kick a field goal to win the game. So they have a new coach. They have a lot of fire and passion through him. But I think Arkansas is going to come in this game with a little letdown by the way they concluded that Missouri game. And I believe Alabama has an opportunity to take advantage of the defense that Arkansas has put on the field. I don't think they're as athletic as the other defenses we played against. I don't think that they're going to be able to step up with their offense. So if Arkansas comes out defensively and you put Alabama's best team on the field, Alabama's best game is on the field against them, I don't think there's any way this Arkansas team hangs with our defense hangs with our Alabama offense. I think Alabama comes out, play on offense and play mistake-free football. Don't give them any points off the offense. In other words, no turnovers, no stupid penalties. We come out and we take what Arkansas gives us. If we run the ball against their defense, if we set up the pass, do play-action passing, I think we can take advantage of some plays, especially to Devonta Smith running against some of these Arkansas cover corners. So I really think Mac Jones has a good game in this one. I think Najee Harris has a good game, and Devonta Smith has a real good game. I look for Jaleel Billingsley to have a breakout game in this game. The last game against LSU, he had, as far as his catching, he had 4 catches for 68 yards, averaged 17 yards average, and got his first touchdown. So I look for him to have a really good game against Arkansas on the road, because I think the way the Arkansas plays defense, and they're going to try to cover Devonta Smith with 2 bracket people, it's going to leave Jaleel Billingsley running wide open sometimes. So I look for Alabama to exploit that and put him in a position to make some plays in this game. So I think offensively, we come out and play our game, we're going to do a good job and really put up some points to win this game against Arkansas. What will Arkansas have to do to win this game? Well, Alabama's got to make some terrible mistakes on offense. We're going to have to come out in an opportunity and give everything they can to Arkansas for them to have a chance to win, because I don't believe they match up good against this Alabama defense. So defense has to have a very terrible game in this game in order for Alabama to lose this game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Alabama's going to continue to build on defense. I think they're going to build on the momentum they had against Auburn and Arkansas. And I think they're going to come into this game with an idea that, hey, we can shut down this team, shut down this Arkansas team. So I think Alabama comes out, and what they need to do on defense is they need to make sure that they get off the field on 3rd down. Felipe Franks has ability to extend plays with his legs, and what we need to do is play very good disciplined defense to, number one, stop the run and put Arkansas in a position to have to throw the ball, and then be able to get off the field on 3rd down plays. If we do that in this game, and I believe we're going to get some turnovers, and I believe it's going to be a big victory for Alabama if we play our best game on defense against this Arkansas Razorback team. Keep Felipe Franks in the pocket, and don't let him extend plays on 3rd down. We win this game big. So I think overall we have a great game offensively. I think we do those things on defense we need to do to put them in a position to throw the ball. We have a good game defensively. I look for Alabama to come out of Arkansas with a big victory, 66-10. That's Alabama 66, Arkansas 10. Well, that's all this week for the DC Capstone Report. We thank you for tuning in. We look forward to being back for you next week as we preview the upcoming SEC Championship game against the Florida Gators. Thanks and have a great day, and roll Tide.